Hello, and welcome to episode 5 of Anomaly Binary Hunts. Well, I just had to give a little shout out to one of the most amazing historical figures, Ada Lovelace. So one of the first computer programmers, since we're talking about binaries, I thought it'd be a kick to bring her up. If you like comics, check out 3D Goggles. They've got some good stuff. All right, so we better hash out this whole thing about binaries. Some properties about executable binaries. They can be signed or they can be unsigned. Hashes are used to describe them. Some characteristics that are useful to hunt for include SSDeep, imp hash, and file type, and we'll go over those. So, what does signing mean? Signing is a way to check the integrity of the file and also the authenticity of it using code signing certificates. Now, these are often, they can be important when they're used. For instance, a lot of operating systems won't let you run something unless it has a proper signature for it. Now, that being said, it's kind of fun to bring this up. Is there legitimate Microsoft code that is not signed? Why, yes, there is, because Microsoft also uses something called a catalog. So watch out for that. Okay, but code signing isn't enough. Because, well, let's be honest, certificates have and can be stolen. So that computers will trust software unwittingly, and it will get past anomaly checks for signed software. Not every company uses. Not every company signs their code. It can be expensive or maybe difficult for them. All right, and there are a number of file types that can be executed. And I mean, it just isn't just an executable that can be run. So that's important to look forward to. Okay, now, smart people with clever ideas. For instance, I believe it is FireEye that came up with the imp hash, and it stands for the import hash. Okay, now this is pretty cool. When an executable is run, it loads a number of imports. Let me show you an example. All right, so good old virus total. Here is an executable, and let's take a look at what it imports. Okay, so these DLLs are imported by the executable, and they're done in a specific order. So what FireEye did was they said, hey, we think certain malware authors are going to import the same kind of DLLs or resources in the same order, and you might be able to classify things together. And so that came up with the imp hash. So if we go up here, that is the hash of the imports for this executable. And if you are a malware researcher online or trying to categorize different types, this is something you might be able to use to try to find samples that haven't been categorized before. It's kind of cool, imp hash. And it's something that you can also hunt for if you have that particular piece of data. Other thing is SSDeep, or fuzzy hashing. Context triggered piecewise hashes. Okay, so that's a lot to say. It's a method of hashing that will look at the percentage of similarities between two files. Okay, so if you have two files and they are different by one punctuation, if you run a file hash like a SHA-256 and MD5, they will be distinctly different. Okay, and that's because that's what those hashing algorithms are for. Now, if you did a fuzzy hash of those two files, they would be very similar because it's doing piecewise hashing. That can be very useful, especially if you have code that is reused, perhaps, in different malware samples. SSDeep can help show similarities. It's another great tool to try to do hunting and similarities for. Enter Sysmon. Amazing tool. Absolutely incredible. Some of the common things it will do is it will track image loading, all right? And it will take characteristics of that image load. I think different configurations can give greater flexibility around this, but let's take a look at a TrickBot image load. So I'm going to bring up Powershell. All right, so Powershell is one of my faves, just because I use it a whole lot. Here what we're doing, I want to show you how we got here. I am using the parse sysmon script that's mentioned in the first video. And the way that works, I bet I can bring up the command. Almost there. There we go. So to run the command, once you import it, it's parse sysmon, and then you want to give it the evtx file. So I did that already. Okay, and so now I'm going to show the executable file. A lot of scrolling. Okay. One thing I want to point out is to find it. There we go. Is I did the variable pipe, and then I grouped by description and selected the name. And here's what that gives. These are all of the different names of executables in that sysmon evtx file. One of them stands out to me, right? So that's kind of an anomaly mind bat. So if we wanted to dig into it, we could do TrickBot, which is our variable holding the evtx file. The question mark stands for where an object is. We want to look at the description field, and we want it to equal mindbat. I know that's kind of a whole lot, but we're going to come back to PowerShell and play with it a little bit. What the big takeaways are, we're taking the variable that is storing the logs, and we're looking for a value in a specific field. Okay? All right. Now, when we do that, let's take a look at some of it. All right. So we've got the file name. I downloaded it from a site so we could take a look at it. But this stuff is related to the actual executable, the binary. The product is mindbat. The company is PlaySign Spigot. Really? We've got the hash value for it. So if we have the hash, we should be able to look it up, correct? Well, I think maybe we can. In fact, here it is. So if we virus total that particular file, or that particular hash, I should say, this is what we get. We go to summary. Ooh, no bueno. 50 out of 71, huh? And details. Detection. Here we go. Anything? Oh, the trickster. All right, so it's TrickBot. Now we're talking about anomaly hunts for binaries. So, that being said, these are things you could look for. Okay? You could look for strange product names that are out of the ordinary. You could look for companies that don't make sense. Hashes are of limited value for anomalies, I'll be honest. Just because polymorphic malware changes them so very often. Okay, so heading back to our slides, if you're going to do a hypothesis for binary hunts, when this is observed along with this could be malicious and worth a look. All right, so think about what we looked at for a second and put your ideas. Okay. When an executable is not signed, first flag, and the product description or original name are not the same, this is worth investigating. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, when they're all the same, that's worth investigating. So this is something bizarre, something strange. Okay. So when you look at your binaries, know that you've got some great tools for hunting. We talked a little bit about imphash. We talked a little bit about SSDeep and fuzzy hashing. And we looked at the properties of a binary to help us look for things that might stand out. We looked at signed, we looked at the names, we looked at the product, and we looked at the description. Fantastic. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Introduction to Threat Hunting on binary anomalies. Can't wait to see you for the next one.